We have our last speaker for this morning, Mr. Ratanji from our CS2 function room, and no less than the ballroom D. And of course, Mr. Ratanji, it's been a great honor and pleasure. And my goodness, I learned so much in such a short time.
It's a pleasure.
So, first question. Right. I'm Dina Loomis, by the way, from the PMAP Board of Trustees and the media. Would this be your first time in the Philippines?
No, it's not. I actually work with a lot of organizations here. I was just here a month ago where I was presenting at the MAP conference, the CEO conference as well.
All right.
Yeah.
So you have been doing this for the Gallup for how many years?
Well, I've been with Gallup for a fairly long time, almost 15 years, and all of it in the region, so I've been working with them for a long time.
Obviously, I can presume you are very happy working with them. Otherwise, you would have left a long time ago.
The right term to say is engaged. I'm a very engaged employee.
Right, yes, that for me, what's coming out from listening also to the other speakers is that there seems to be one word that has become so relevant during these times, and that is engaging, engagement with people. So I noticed several things with what you have shown us earlier, and that is that you cannot just make guesswork of choosing your next leaders.
Yes, absolutely. I think that is the single most important decision an organization can make. And we feel that in most of the cases, sometimes the wrong decisions are made. And that costs you a lot of money. Because when you get a wrong leader on board, and they spend years in your organization, they do a lot of damage to the organization. So, and we've seen that leadership talent is very rare. So it's almost like picking a needle from a haystack. To be able to have the right tools to assess and then develop a leader is very, very important.
I was also quick to note that you mentioned Donald Trump. I mean, that caught me, but you know what? He is one of the most striking personalities of our time. So I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is that he may not fit into some organizations. Maybe he fits into like his own or other, but not necessarily other organizations, right?
It's very interesting, and I think Donald Trump is such a great example of a different type of leader. You can't really pass a judgment and say Donald Trump is not a good leader. He obviously has certain specific talents. There's a recent poll where they asked amongst all the Republican candidates, which one is the most trustworthy leader? Now, you know that Donald Trump is leading the polls right now, but his level of people trust is very, very low. But when they asked which leader will make an exceptional leader, who has got great exceptional leadership skills, he scored at 82%. Trust, he scored at 32%. So we shouldn't pass perhaps judgment on how a leader is. Perhaps Trump has leadership skills. That's why he built a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. So there is something there. So every leader is different, and every individual has different talents and strengths. Focusing on that is more important.
So now, let us say for family corporations, because we have a lot of that here.
Yes.
And of course, the owner passes it on to his own children. So what message would you like to give to the owners of these corporations, even though their children may not make the best leaders?
I think there are 2 points that I want to make here. One, a lot of family-owned companies are increasingly using professional managers and professional leaders in their organizations to run affairs. Obviously, they need to be somebody they can trust, but a lot more empowerment and authority has been given to professional leaders, and I see a lot of organizations, even in the Philippines, doing that. So I think a lot more needs to happen, because if you give a up-and-coming family member a lot of responsibility, they don't learn the right way. So it's very important to actually have one of these professional leaders actually tutor or mentor or coach some of these emerging leaders. But these emerging leaders who are family members, they need to start at a certain level, and they need to go through the grind. It's very, very important.
Okay,
They need to go through the experience,
Yes.
because if they're placed in positions of authority and responsibility right away, we're doing them a big disfavor. So use more professional leaders to work directly with your family members, up and coming young family members, and to really help them, coach them and mentor them. But rely and give empowerment to these professional leaders. I've seen so many times where you have almost like a figurehead of a professional leader who's there as vice president or CEO, but has very limited authority. So I think family run businesses are evolving. I think they're giving more and more authority to professional leaders, which is the right thing to do.
I also thank you so much for that. That will be very much appreciated by the family corporations here. Now, I also took note of your mentioning picking on leaders who can push the company globally. And there are certain leaders here who may not be easily adaptable to that. So, what would you advise the leaders who aspire to go global?
I think leaders need to understand whether they have the interest and the curiosity to go global. If you're actually taking on an overseas opportunity, and sometimes you take an overseas opportunity which is less than what you already have, right? You take it because you feel that's the only way to get ahead. But that shouldn't be the case. Sometimes we push people into overseas assignments and they're clearly not prepared for it. Right? They're not interested in the culture that they go into. They don't have that kind of curiosity, and most of them end up coming back. So to be able to understand which of my leaders actually has adaptability, which of my leaders can actually navigate this uncertain cultural issues in a different country, to be able to assess that, and there's ways in which you can assess it, assess the interest levels, and then choose leaders, rather than just saying this individual has performed really well in this country, so should be able to do the same in another country. That would be a false move to make. So almost do a assessment of all your top talent and understand whether they can actually cut it abroad, because not all of them can.
Well, thank you so much. I look at you as some kind of a roving ambassador for Gallup, but because you do move around the world, right?
Yeah.
And showing people from different parts of the globe what you and your company can do for the corporation. So this is such a fortunate event for us that you're able to be here and share your expertise with us. Now, any last minute one or two special advice to the corporations and the HR people here, especially the what we call the part wherein they need to motivate, or do you believe in motivation at all? Is that still something that will work?
I think motivation needs to start with first understanding the individual. You can't motivate somebody who you don't understand fully, right? And a great way of doing is by focusing on their strengths. Because, for example, I mentioned that my top strength is ideation. So the way to motivate me is by giving me an opportunity to learn about new ideas. You might have another strength. So how I motivate you would be very, very different than how you motivate me. But managers need to get a better sense and an understanding of what motivates their people. Because what tends to happen is that managers have a one-size-fits-all when it comes to motivation and recognition. Like Employee of the Year, everybody, whether you want to be Employee of the Year or not, that's all you get. So being able to actually have that kind of diversity and understanding each individual's strengths and motivation triggers is very, very important. Once you do that, great way of doing it is Strengths Finder. We have our inaugural course in the Philippines that's going to happen in November. It's fully sold out. But we have another one in March where you can actually get certified on some of these thinking, some of these research thinking on how to be a certified strengths coach. We're doing high performance courses in the Philippines as well in a big way. So one of my advice would be to go and take part in one of these courses and becoming a certified coach, for instance.
Right, because that is something new for a lot of people, because every time a leader wants to point out first what's wrong with the person and then ask him to improve in certain ways, but focusing on the strength is not always done.
Yeah, it's not automatic.
So that's something new as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. And I really believe that the HR professionals here will benefit a lot from what you have just told us. So you have two, all right? You have two offerings where people can go and have themselves certified and get engaged also with their own clients. Yeah. And this will be in November.
Yes, November is sold out, but we
sold
have
out, and then you have another one in March of next year.
1 or 2 months after that.
Are you going to come over here to do this, or some
we
of?
We have a big team of very senior consultants and
Oh, all right.
availability.
All
everything
right.
comes.
Now, also, I thank you so much because I understand that from here you need to hurry up and go to the airport. So this is really an opportunity, and thank you so much. It's a great honor and
Thank you very
pleasure for
much,
me.
and more power to the Philippines.
Yeah, thank you, thank
you very
you.
much.
God bless.